What's going on, bottom line viewers? I'm tired, but I'm here nonetheless. The Cleveland Browns have traded Jason McCourty to the New England Patriots. And it's gonna whoa, I'm getting reverb. But anyways, Patriots trade for Jason McCourty. I am here live. I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? Jason McCourty from the Cleveland Browns going to the New England Patriots to team up with his brother, Devin McCourty. We have the twin terrors in the secondary, Jason McCourty, Devin McCourty here in New England. Let me know, live comments or comments below if you're watching this after the fact. What do you think? Jason McCourty going to start alongside Stephon Gilmore this upcoming season with the New England Patriots. I was super excited to see this trade. Just had a lot of school stuff going on. Didn't get a ton of sleep last night. But I looked to Twitter. I see that Jason McCourty is supposed to be released by the Cleveland Browns. There were a lot of rumors last offseason that the Patriots may trade for Jason McCourty as a Titan. He ends up getting traded, I believe, or released and then signed by the Cleveland Browns. As a member of the Cleveland Browns in 2017, he has a great season. He actually flies way under the radar in terms of good corners last year. Jason McCourty, according to Pro Football Focus, was a #1 corner last year. He ranked 27th in the league. So in the top 32, that means you're a #1 corner in the league. Coming to the Patriots, he'll be asked to be that #2 complimentary guy. He obviously has chemistry with his brother, Devin McCourty. He also knows guys like Duron Harmon, who played at Rutgers. So it's a good fit. McCourty, Devin, Jason, both great guys, great teammates. And now Jason's going to bring another McCourty to the Patriots and a competitive, good starting caliber corner, which is exactly what all Patriots fans wanted since the departure of Malcolm Butler. Speaking of the departure of Malcolm Butler did end up going and leaving, and he's off to the Tennessee Titans. But the thing about Malcolm Butler, as we know, as Patriots fans, if you are a Patriots fan, or maybe you're not watching this video, maybe you're a Browns fan, maybe somebody else. The problem with Malcolm Butler last year is he didn't play very well. He was very inconsistent. And don't get me wrong, I love Malcolm Butler. And in 2015, he was amazing. In 2016, he was great. But this past season, he had a dip in play. He wasn't the same guy. He wasn't the same top-tier caliber corner. And actually, according to Pro Football Focus, and actually from what I saw as well, seeing every Patriots games and trying to see as much Browns action as I possibly could and hearing all the reports, Jason McCourty was the better corner last year. You're getting him for way less money. Jason McCourty is only coming at a price of about $3 million, which is insanely low. And this is thanks to the contract that he signed as a free agent last year after being released. He had a down year with the Titans the previous year before signing with the Browns. He got rejuvenated with the Browns, had a very good season, and now is going to New England, and he had a great season with the Browns. So if he can play good with the Browns, I'm hoping that Bill Belichick can utilize him and he can play well with the Patriots as well. So that being said, I'm very happy about this trade. I think this is a great trade for the Patriots. They get a corner that can come in and he can start across from Stephon Gilmore at a very reduced price, a cheap price. Plus, you know this guy's going to be a great guy in the locker room. You know he has great character. You know he can bring leadership. He is still only 30 years old, so there's some time for him in his prime left, about 2 to 3 seasons. So I think this is a great move for the Patriots to bring in Jason McCourty, and the cost of him was very small. They traded 6th and 7th round picks. It was basically very limited. Plus, the Patriots, and that's like a number, like how many picks is that? That's like barely any picks. So, like in terms of draft order. So, the Browns, from their point of view, they obviously want to kind of move on. Of course, they have sort of a new system in place on defense, and they're looking to move on. The question is, why did they move on from a corner that played so well for him that last year while they're bringing in guys like Tyrod Taylor, Jarvis Landry. It seems like the Browns are trying to compete, but then by trading a guy like Jason McCourty, it seems like they're not really trying to. I don't know what their plan is by trading Jason McCourty, but I guess it's just to get their young guys playing. I don't really know, to be honest. Like, it's a tough question to answer for Cleveland. The move sort of makes no sense in a way, because in a way you would think that Cleveland would want to keep their players, seeing as how they're trying to win now. Think it's a great trade. All right, so let's get to some of the comments. Adam Gardner says, why the hell do teams keep giving the Patriots stuff? Well, actually, the Seahawks didn't give them Michael Bennett when they traded for more, when they gave them more than what the Eagles gave them. A number of players haven't re-signed with the Patriots, and also the Patriots weren't able to get Aqib Talib in a trade from the Broncos. So, Adam, I don't know what you mean. Teams have not this offseason been giving players to the Patriots. Frontline says, great. Lucas says, a cornerback. Yes, Jason McCourty is a cornerback. Hot Take Hockey says, Pat's doing something good. You know, Mitch is happy. Yeah, definitely. I'm happy just because, like, last offseason was such a crazy offseason where the Patriots went out. And I understand that they had way more money last year than they did this year, but they went out and they were aggressive, and they basically said, hey, we're going to go attack free agency, and we're going to get as many good players as we possibly can to help this team. Now, that strategy, looking back on it, didn't really work out. They did make it to the playoffs, and they were a good team, but a lot of their free agency signings which were on the bold end, didn't really work out. Besides Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore, not a lot of the moves really were great for the Patriots last offseason, including the draft. Now the Patriots are going back to their older approach where they're not so aggressive. They kind of sit back. They kind of look around for the best deals possible. Already they have acquired 2 Browns, Danny Shelton and Jason McCourty, 2 quality players to help their team. They noticed that they didn't really fit what the Browns are going for at the moment. Danny Shelton, scheme-wise, Jason McCourty, age and contract-wise, didn't really fit what the Browns were looking for. And the Browns kind of looking to the future on that side of the ball. And kind of, you've seen with the Browns, offensively, they're attacking it. Defensively, they're sort of changing it, which is interesting. But McCourty was arguably one of the best Browns defensive players last year, as I said, ranking 27th Pro Football Focus, which ranks all players, basically grading them at the position. And I'm not saying that's like a verification of how good a player is, but they're usually pretty on when it comes to a lot of the players and a lot of the grades. And you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, but it definitely does put things into perspective. While actually McCourty did rank higher than both Sherman and Malcolm Butler last year. Did not rank higher than Talib, but ranked higher than both those 2 players. So it is a very good move in my opinion. Like I said, cheap, good replacement for Butler. Can do what the scheme requires of him. He has good height. He's about 6 feet tall. Gives 2 tall corners on the outside, McCourty and Gilmore. Gives him some flexibility in that way. Plus, it kind of gives competition to the younger corners like Eric Rowe, Jonathan Jones. If Cyrus Jones is going to take a step up, who the hell knows with that guy. But really, I think it's a great move. And like I was saying about the Patriots in free agency last year, aggressive, didn't really work out. This year, they're going back to what they're really known for, picking through the mid-tier free agents, the guys that are sort of forgotten in the middle. And the interesting thing about this year's free agency is that this is a free agency where a lot of players are getting released after free agency has started. It's very strange. I haven't seen this many good quality free agents being released after the fact. Like Jordy Nelson's, Michael Crabtree's now, 2 guys that were just on the open market. Michael Crabtree is going to sign somewhere soon, and Jordy Nelson just signed so with the Raiders. So, like, a lot of guys, and McCourty was supposed to be one of them that was released. Tyrann Mathieu, who at the beginning of free agency would be considered a top 5 free agent, is now, on the open market. So there's a lot of guys that shocking releases right now in the NFL. And I think that also helps the Patriots in terms of their mid-tier strategy. Because while people are attacking the upper end free agents at the beginning of the negotiation period, those guys are giving money to, let's say, a Danny Amendola gets maybe more money than he should, now that we see that a Jordy Nelson and a Michael Crabtree are open. So it's very interesting to see how the way the free agency is playing out. But the Patriots do acquire Jason McCourty, and I'm very happy about it. Raiders says, it's over for my Raiders man. Crabtree is better than Nelson. Who the hell are these other guys? Doug Martin is done. Looks like 5-11. Well, you know, they could turn out to be great moves. They could turn out to be miserable moves. That is the thing about these Raider moves right now, is they could be great or they could be piss poor because the type of players they got. Doug Martin, every other year he runs for like 1,000 yards, and then Jordy Nelson, you know, a great player for a long time for the Packers, but this past year with Rodgers in and out of the lineup had a really down year, didn't look the same guy as the same guy physically. So Jordy Nelson, I would say a bigger question mark. Doug Martin, very limited in terms of what you actually paid him. It's only a one-year deal, so I think there's a lot of upside to that deal. But in terms of the Jordy Nelson one, a lot of guaranteed money for a guy that I think is a little bit washed up. That's my opinion on those moves. Let's see here. Billy Bob does not like the McCourty move. He says that he isn't even good, and he's a huge downgrade from Butler. Zeta, sorry if I don't know which one that is, says actually he was quite good. Yeah, I agree, especially last year. McCourty is old. He isn't good anymore. It was a terrible trade, says Billy Bob. He's only 30 years old. Butler's 27, so there isn't much difference. Plus, if you're one of the people that wanted Aqib Talib, he's 32, and Sherman is also 30 years old. So, I mean, you're not getting much of a difference. Plus, McCourty is way cheaper, and he actually performed better than Sherman and Butler last year. So, he's not even a top 15 corner. I mean, he is a starting. Considering last year he was the #1 corner on the Browns and arguably the best player on a terrible defense, and one of the only bright spots, I mean, I think that's a good acquisition, especially considering, like I said, only $3 million, and you got him for essentially free, like a 7th-round pick. Like, how many 7th-round picks actually move? Like, you only move down a couple of spots. Even if he doesn't work out, it's limited risk, limited money, and you, at the very least, bring in a guy that can be competitive towards an Eric Rowe, towards a Jonathan Jones, and maybe a guy that you draft in the draft. So at the very least, he's a guy that's a competition and a good leader. And maximum, he's what he was last year, and he's a #1 caliber corner. So to me, he's good. Marco says, weak trade. Billy Bob says, I'd rather get Nelson than McCourty any day. I'd rather have McCourty because the Patriots need corners. The Patriots do not need receivers. Billy Bob continues on to trash Bill as a GM. Trying to question his Patriot loyalty here. Raiders 8189 says, we are wasting max talent. Seriously, should just trade him for 3 firsts. Nelson is okay, but Crabtree's better. Crabtree's been good lately. I think Nelson gives you a similar receiver. Nelson was far better a couple of years ago, but I don't know if he's the same player he was then. Is Jason Devin's bro or something? They're twins. Jin Ban Po. They're actually twins. Look up pictures. They're twins. Rick Badboy says Gruden's really going old school offense. Yeah, I kind of like that too. Where do I see Sue landing? I don't know. Like, if you're in terms of, I know Patriots fans probably want me to answer this question. Probably not to New England. I've heard that there's interest in him, but given the money that he'll likely require, I doubt it. I heard Seattle has legitimate interest. I wouldn't be surprised if a team like Atlanta, Tampa Bay, those sort of teams would be interested in him. The Jets, possibly. I think there's a lot of teams that could be suitors to Sue. And I think that there are a couple teams that have been opening up some cap space. I wouldn't be too surprised if the Raiders did make a move for him, even though I don't know how much cap they have to work there. It's interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see where he ends up. I really like Sue still as a player. He's not like the #1 guy anymore in terms of defensive tackles in the league like he was a few years ago, but he's still a really good player. From what I saw last year, he would still rank in my top 10, at least DTAP, probably top 5-ish. He's very aggressive. I love his play style, even though he is a little bit dirty and plays on the edge. But I feel like a lot of teams could utilize that, and he could bring something to that team. And I think he's a good all-around D tackle. He's strong as hell. He's still got the quick. So I think Sue would be awesome at the right price, like Rick Badboy says. But I don't think he's going to get something ridiculous like he did last time, because obviously he got released for cap reasons. So, but I still think Sue is a good player. But overall, Miles says, do you think the Colts have enough in free agency? Have done enough in free agency? Well, not yet. I mean, they haven't done enough yet, I would say. I think there's a lot of time left to do some things. And like I said earlier, I think the thing about this free agency is how many guys have been released after the fact of free agency starting. I mean, there's still a lot of quality players out there. And a lot of the signings that people don't really realize that really change teams are the signings of mid-tier to lower-end signings that are really good cap signings for teams. Like Jason McCourty could end up being that type of trade where the Patriots get a very low contract but maximize the benefit. Like for an example, last year, the Eagles maximized the benefit of signing Patrick Robinson. He signed for like less than $1 million last year and was one of the best slot corners in the NFL. So those are the type of deals that you need to look for, those diamonds in the rough, those mid-tier veteran players that aren't exactly getting paid the most money because they're not really in their prime, but they are still good players and they can benefit to a system in the right scheme, in the right fit. So those are the things you need to look for, Miles. I did think that it was interesting. I think Barkevious Mingo left the Colts. I thought he played well for the Colts last year. I was kind of surprised that he didn't re-sign there, but I think it's, you know, the Colts have a lot of time left to make moves and to improve their roster. And the Colts aren't a team that this year you're really going to expect to do much. You know, maybe if Luck is back and healthy, which I don't know what the answer is there, they could be a decent team, but I don't see them being a competitive team, like overly competitive playoff team. They're just looking to get slowly better and improve through the draft and improve with the right signings. Kevin Durkant says, hello, Mitch. Kevin Durkant says Browns will still be awful. The Browns are confusing me. Like I said earlier, I don't understand why you're getting Tyrod, you're getting Jarvis Landry, you have all these players and these picks, and I guess you have all these picks, so you're adding all that to the cap, and you're looking to play those players as well, and maybe you have a plan for the draft for corner or whatever, but you're releasing your best corner and one of your best defensive players from last season. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me why the Browns made this trade. Of course, it makes a ton of sense to me from the Patriots. There's so many connections. There's so many things that make sense. I mean, the Patriots needed a second corner. They have Devin McCourty, his brother. There's a lot of connections there. McCourty's wanted to play together for a long time. They played, you know, there's the Rutgers connection of Belichick already loving Rutgers players and Duron Harmon being there and having Jordan Richards, and in the past having guys like Logan Ryan who've played with Jason McCourty. So there's a lot of connections there. It makes a ton of sense from the Patriots, but not a lot of sense to me for the Browns. I'm not saying this is a bad trade by the Browns. I just don't really understand their logic, and maybe it will take a bit of time for me to understand that logic. Barry NWO says, I just got here. Who was McCourty traded to? He's traded to the Patriots. It says in the title. And what did they receive in return? They only received like a sixth, I believe. So it was like a sixth for McCourty and a seventh. So it was basically like just moving down and up picks. Rick Badboy says, what's your thoughts on the Browns officially saying that Tyrod starts? I think that's the right move. If you're going to bring in a rookie, you don't want to put that pressure on him. Michael says Sue is visiting the Saints. That could be another spot. I've been really impressed with the Saints have been able to do. I would like the Saints to go out and add another receiver, possibly. You know, I think they signed Demario Davis, right? I really like that signing. I think that's a super under the radar signing that nobody's really talked about. That's a really good signing. If they could get Sue, the Saints could be a team to be reckoned with for sure. They're already a very good team, but they could be looking at a Super Bowl berth potentially with the way that they've set up their team. I really like it, and I think they should maximize these next couple of years with Drew Brees. Snoopy says, oh yeah, let's have a parade with we got McCourty. We're going to the Super Bowl. Okay, don't go that far, bro. But Jason is a good player, and I've always liked him. Kevin Durkant says Browns should draft Bradley Chubb and Minka Fitzpatrick. Miles says, do you think the Patriots are drafting a quarterback early? As I've said in the past, I think it's possible, but I doubt it. Ace the Immortal says hi. What's going on, bro? Rick Bad Boy says, been thinking all day, don't want my Hawks to re-sign Richardson anymore. I don't think they're going to. I think they would have by now. I think he's going to go to a different team. We'll see. I haven't heard too much on that front, actually. I haven't heard like who's the teams are that are interested. Cleveland to be an offensive powerhouse. They could be, but I don't. I think your cap is limited with Tyrod Taylor. They could be a very explosive running team this year with Tyrod Taylor. In terms of a passing team, they could have their moments and their spots in their games. But with Tyrod Taylor as their quarterback, he's not a great, accurate, move the chain sort of guy. He's more of a uses athleticism, escape from the pocket, hit big plays down the field sort of guy. He's not necessarily like a Drew Brees or a Tom Brady in that sort of way. And he's not exactly the most accurate dude. Patriots only moved down 3 spots. Well, that's like a great trade. Killin' Boy says, what's up? We have a problem. What's going on? Okay. I'm sick of the Patriots always picking up the crumbs. I don't know if I know that people don't watch the Browns, but guys, I'm trying to tell you, Jason McCourty was better than Malcolm Butler last year. I'm not saying he's going to be this year, but last year, comparing both players, I don't know if you consistently watched Malcolm Butler, but he was not very good. He was okay. He was a starting corner, but he was not Malcolm Butler that we've seen in the past. And Jason McCourty outperformed him last year. That being said, for way less money, like $8 to $10 million less, you get a guy in Jason McCourty that played better, and you gave up practically nothing. So I think in any facet, even if he's a bust, even if he's sucks, it's not a bad trade because it's not a lot of money. It's a short-term contract, and you did nothing in order to acquire him. You moved down 3 spots. Do you think Keenum will have another good season with the Broncos, or was last season a fluke? We talked about this on Keenum when he signed. I think this is one of the most intriguing signings because although I saw it coming, like I predicted it, I feel like it's going to be very hard to judge how Keenum is playing, given that the Broncos' offensive line is really bad. They don't really have a running game. He doesn't have the same supporting cast he had in Minnesota. Now, they're going to ask him to do similar things, and it's a similar offense. I think he'll be fine, but I don't know. And he'll be better than what the Broncos have, but I don't think he'll be the same sort of player that he was in Minnesota, just given because he doesn't have the same guys around him. That's the biggest thing. Killing Boy says he's Aaron Bischoff. You're back and better than ever. Rick Bad Boy says Jason was a Pro Bowl corner at one point. McCourty got his ankles broken by Adams. Michael says how the Pats replace their left tackle. That's a big question. I think they're going to probably go out and sign Fleming, Waddle, whoever they had. Last year I thought Fleming and Waddle both played well in place for Cannon. I think the thing with the Patriots is they're actually probably going to move Cannon to left tackle. We'll see what happens, but they've paid him a lot of money, and he is a top-tier right tackle. So he might as well make the switch to left tackle. He's also played left tackle in his career. So it may be a benefit if they play him at left tackle. We'll see. But at right tackle or at right tackle or left tackle, depending on what they do with Cannon, they may draft someone early. Maybe the early second round. I could definitely see that happening. Or they just bring in a couple veterans. I think they'll do a combination. I think they'll draft someone at least in the middle rounds, at least third round at the latest. And they'll bring in, a Fleming and another guy, a veteran, to kind of compete in camp and just see who's the best. Plus, they've been very good with putting in and taking out different tackles and different offensive linemen. The Patriots, that's one of the most underrated things about the Patriots, has been their play on their line and their ability to replace players despite injuries, despite contracts and all that. So that's what the Patriots do best. Butler's already gone. Rutgers Nation says, or Rutgers Nation. Anish says Rutgers Nation. My bad. Yeah, Rutgers Nation. Rutgers are all over the Patriots, man. Michael, the Patriots do have a defensive coach. Brian Flores, who is the linebacker coach, is their defensive coach. He isn't in title the defensive coordinator, but he will be calling the plays. This is his first season taking over for Matt Patricia, but they don't want to put the pressure on him of calling him the defensive coordinator. It's the same thing that they did with Matt Patricia in like 2012 or 2011 or whatever, but they definitely are going to have a defensive coordinator, and that will be Brian Flores, who I have a lot of confidence in because the organization does and teams around the league do. Even teams like Arizona did interview him to be a head coach. So he is a positional coach that is even getting head coaching opportunities. So this is a guy that is widely respected around the league. I feel like he's going to be a good defensive coordinator. And I'm interested to see the differences between him and Patricia. My final four, I actually did this, but I somewhat forgot my final four. I don't know why. Like, I did it really quickly. And of course, like I said earlier, I was up all night. Like, I have not slept in like 28 hours, guys. I have not slept today. But let me look. So this is why I forget stuff. I do have Duke winning, though. Duke is my pick. They are arguably, the best team in the entire tournament. They're actually winning right now by quite a margin. I am a Michigan fan, though, mostly because of Tom Brady. But I think Duke's going to win. I should say I'm a Michigan and Miami fan. I don't really have like one school because I didn't go to those schools or anything. Like I go to Ryerson and Toronto, but Michigan has actually the same colors as Ryerson. So I like Michigan, the Tom Brady history there. And I also like the Hurricanes for their past in the 90s, the 80s. And then, of course, having The Rock helps. So I'm a big Miami fan, even though Miami's not as good in basketball as they are in football. I think I had Duke and Arizona in the final, I believe. Arizona has a stud. I think that they could go a far way. They could, kind of on the back of him, they could go pretty far. And then, man, I'm trying to see who it was. I feel like my other teams were Villanova, possibly Villanova, and not Cincinnati, not Virginia. My other team, I think, was Michigan. I think I had Michigan versus Just Because and Arizona, and I had Duke and Villanova. I think those are the final four for me, but I'm not 100% sure. I could be wrong. I did that very quickly, so. Okay. Kill 'em boys. If you can set up a video with me and Dear Pats Nation, then do so. Maybe you can contact me, whatever. I checked him out one time because you said something about him, but yeah, let me, if you can hit him up and tell him about our channel, I'd definitely be open to doing a video. So you can let him know that. Broncos suck, says Kevin Trukant. Mr. Stoopy says, I'm sick of Brady. I wanted to see Jimmy G win some Super Bowls, but no. Wow, you're that type of Patriots fan that's sick of winning? Man, you suck. Devin McCourty and Jason Mccourty. McCourty twins. Yeah, buddy. Raiders says, damn, we probably worse than the Raiders now. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think the Raiders could be better than last year. Who knows? The Colts have not signed anyone yet, I don't think, to help Luck in particular, which is kind of not a good thing. Miles asks, this is a good question. Why did the Raiders choose Nelson over Crabtree? I mean, Crabtree had more yards and touchdowns last year. I don't really know. I think part of it may have been I think part of it may have been under the radar, possibly locker room issues, possibly issues with Crabtree's personality. He's kind of a guy that's had those issues in the past. He is a player that's widely hated amongst a lot of players in the league for his like weird trash talk and just not being a good guy. That could have something to do with it. I'm just speculating here. I have no idea. But maybe it was also a factor of system. Maybe he doesn't exactly fit what John Gruden is looking for in a receiver, and he doesn't fit that system in particular. Maybe Jordy Nelson fits it a little bit better, and so they instead paid Jordy Nelson. Even though I think they didn't necessarily overpay for Jordy Nelson, but you have a lot of question marks with Jordy Nelson. It could be a great signing, or it could be a bad signing. Ferocious Film says Eagles versus Rams in the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's impossible. Crabtree to the Patriots. What do you think? That hasn't happened, right? But I don't think it's going to happen because the Patriots, like I said, don't need a receiver. I don't know why I have to state this so many times. I think Crabtree to the Saints is more likely. Crabtree to the Patriots doesn't make sense because the Patriots have Brandon Cooks, Julian Edelman, Chris Hogan, Malcolm Mitchell, Philip Dorsett, and Kenny Britt. They don't need a receiver. Plus, is Crabtree really that much better than like Chris Hogan? Like, honestly, is he worth going out there and spending money on when you could improve your D-line? He's not better than Cooks or Edelman. So, Kevin Durkant says, Mitch already probably saw my little comment rant when they traded Landry. Yeah, I did. What do you think about the Saints signing P-Rob? That was a great signing. I actually need to do some reaction videos. Would you guys, let me know, would you guys like me to do reaction videos to like some of the bigger signings throughout free agency that we've missed so far? We've been doing the whole individually release, cut up the reactions and then release those. But would you like me to sort of do one that's not live, but kind of just me doing like reactions to some of the bigger ones and then releasing them? Because I could do that maybe this weekend. And then I could go a little bit more in depth instead of just sort of doing it off the top of my head, which is mostly what we do in the reaction videos. Miles says, do you think the Ravens could look for a quarterback? No, I'm sorry, Miles. Not going to happen, bro. I don't know if you're a Ravens fan or not, and I'm with you. The Ravens need a quarterback because Flacco stinks, but it's not going to happen. As Kevin Durkant says, they won't because they're stupid. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this live reactions. Cleveland Browns and Q&A have traded Jason McCourty to the New England Patriots. The Patriots replaced Malcolm Butler with a guy who was very good last year, flew under the radar for very cheap. Patriots get a cheap signing in a vintage Patriot-like maneuver. I'm looking forward to seeing the McCourty terror of the McCourty twins on the field together. And hopefully McCourty, Jason, that is, can play as good as he did with the Browns for the Patriots this year. Peace out.